Domain expansion versus Bankai, a recent trend we've been seeing on TikTok, so let's talk about it. To understand which one is better, we have to break down what is a domain expansion and what is a Bankai. Timestamps are in the description. So what's a Bankai? To put it in simple terms, like really simple terms, the Zanpakuto has 3 states: its normal state, the Shikai, and the Bankai. Every Soul Reaper or Shimigami have to at least be captain level to achieve Bankai. You also need Shikai as well. Bankais are different for every single user. Examples are Byakuga's first seen use of the Bankai has him throwing thousands of petals, which are basically small swords, and then he even whips out his own domain. Ichigo just increases his power and speeds to like extreme levels, and Toshiro is an ice dragon. So you see, all Bankais are different, but most Bankai's users have the same purpose: to make themselves 5 to 10 times stronger, or like a trump card. Just whip out the Bankai when you're about to die or something. Bankais can also change depending on like certain circumstances, like Renji, not knowing the true name of his Zanpakuto, later in the story learns its true name and gets a new Bankai. Bankais also can be repaired. Like if your Bankai breaks, that's bad. But in the words of Kurotsuki Mayuri, a broken Bankai never goes back to the way it was.
Domain expansions. Basically, you need a lot of curse energy for this technique, so think of your energy as a mana bar. If you use domain expansion, imagine you're playing an RPG game and more than 50 to 80% of your mana just disappears. But like Gojo says, it can be worth it, buffing your stats while also trapping the enemy inside the domain. But as Gojo says, expanding your own domain inside someone else's is the best counter, depending on the amount of quote-unquote magical power. So how strong is a domain? If you're trapped in it, you're basically clapped, unless you outclass them with your own or break their domain. There are also techniques used for countering domains like simple domain or failing blossom emotion. Also, yeah, I'm right on top of the microphone, let me back that off. Also, the more you reinforce the inside of the domain, the weaker it is on the outside. An example of all of this is Mahito. Mahito can transform and transfigure your soul by touching you. So what's his domain? A bunch of hands trying to touch you. Domains have changed over time. Like back in them old days, more people could actually use domain expansion because there wasn't just one type of domain. There are lethal domains and non-lethal domains. A great example of this is Mahito. Mahito's domain is lethal where it's a guaranteed hit, but back in the old era, there used to be non-lethal domains. There still are non-lethal domains, like Higurama, which is a courtroom, and no one can inflict damage to each other. There's also Sukuna's domain, which doesn't trap you, but rather expands 200 meters. With Bro's cleave and dismantle, he's sacrificing the barrier for rage, basically allowing an escape to Sukuna's domain, but its radius is expanded as well. You're bound to get hit.
We gonna keep it a buck with y'all. We can't say what technique is better. It's like comparing boxing and wrestling. Both are martial arts, but both, for different purposes. Everyone will have their biases, but wait. We'll give you the pros and cons and give you our opinion and let you guys decide for yourself.
Remember what we said about the domain sucking up most of your curse energy and you'll use it once a day? Well, you can actually use it more than once. It's just extremely risky and can cause brain damage. That's not good. This is why domain is looked upon as a last resort, and the only people that can summon their domains multiple times a day is Gojo and Sukuna. I mean, I guess you could hold up your domain for extended periods of time, and from our knowledge, we don't think it keeps sucking up your curse energy while it's open. There's also no real way to achieve domain expansion. It's basically if you learned it, and you're strong enough, you'll have it, like Higurama. He hasn't even been a sorcerer for 3 months and he's already achieved domain expansion. Same goes for Yuta. He learned domain expansion in less than a year, while someone like Megami, who has been a sorcerer for most of his life, still has an incomplete domain.
For Bankai, you can use it however much you like, basically, as long as you're capable of it. Like capable as in like depending on your Bankai. Like Soifon, who can only use her Bankai like once a day, and then after she uses it, she's exhausted. Of course, characters just don't like using their Bankai until Kubo, the author, wants them to. Instead of using Bankai multiple times though, you can kind of stay in it, just like Ichigo did in Hueco Mundo. Correct me if I'm wrong, because my memory might be a little fuzzy, but when I was watching Hueco Mundo, I literally saw him in Bankai almost every episode. Of course, it takes an insane time to learn and master the Bankai, like at least 10 years. Unless you're Kisuke Urahara or Ichigo, I mean, they kind of learned it in a couple of days, which is kind of crazy. And it's not really a talent thing like domain is. It's more bringing your sword spirit into your world due to the vast amount of Bankais out there. Some Bankais can hurt you, but basically, if they really wanted to whip out the Bankai, they can. Like we said, every Bankai is different, so while Ichigo can stay in Bankai for whole episodes, someone like Rukia might not be able to do that.
Domains won't work on things that don't have curse energy, but the domains would work on us because we all have said curse energy created by negative emotion. Everyone in JJK has some curse energy. Well, except Toji and Maki. And I know what you guys are thinking, but Maki was getting clapped when fighting fish, man. That's because
Editor here, we made a mistake. This is why you never rush things. Maki does have a little bit of cursed energy. That's because her heavenly restriction was incomplete. After the heavenly restriction got completed, now she has no cursed energy, just like Toji. That's why Dagon could sense her. That's why she was stuck in his domain. But with Naoya, she just walked in there and stabbed him. And the rules of his domain don't work on her either, because they see her as a building or like an object that has zero curse energy. So just kind of ignore this little part right here. Our bad.
was a guaranteed hit domain. And just like Naoya says, if he can locate her, she's cooked. Bullets from Maki, but she actually uses this to advantage against Naoya. If you don't have cursed energy, the domain just thinks you're a building, basically. So she straight up walks in there and clapped him. But like we said earlier, you can also break into the domain or just break it as a whole.
We cannot stress this enough, bro. Bankais can really be anything. To power boosting, missiles, a giant, and to a sword so hot it literally atomizes whatever it touches. Like, it's just crazy. Bankais can affect anything, depending on your Bankai. Like, we can't stress that enough. Like Shinji, whose Bankai is the inverted world, and it is exactly how it sounds. Your world will be turned upside down. You see your friends as foes, you know, the usual. And if we're talking about how these techniques can affect us or just anything, spiritual pressure alone can just wipe us out. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about Bankais and domains. How do you activate these techniques? For Bankai, you just need to be powerful and capable enough to use your Bankai. And of course, you need to say Bankai. Since you're materializing your sword spirit into your world, you obviously need your sword as well. For domain expansion, it's not really confirmed, but hand signs are the activation for it. Like when Dagon tried to pull out his domain expansion out, but couldn't because he got his hands cut off. Of course, he still activated the domain with his stomach. Like, he drew the hand signs on his stomach to open the domain. So if you're strong enough, you have the hand signs, and you just say domain expansion, there you go.
So here's where we stand at. If you're gifted and strong enough, you can achieve domain expansion. Your domain can be broken into or even just destroyed. The domains are a trap and mostly thought as a last resort. You can counter this by using simple domains, but that will only buy you a little time depending on whose domain you're in. They're designed for trapping people, not really a way to measure your strength, but more of not letting your opponent escape. Or if you're Hakari, for the next 4 minutes and 11 seconds following a jackpot.
Hakari is effectively immortal.
Domains are more of a trump card than anything else.
Like what my friend says, domains are mostly for traps, and domains can be anything, but they're mostly for just like trapping people or getting the upper hand. I mean, it's kind of the same thing for Bankai, but like your Bankai could be anything. I mean, like, bro, we can't stress that enough. It could be a power boost. You can turn into an adult. You can turn into a murderer. The murderer. I'm not saying Bankais and domains are exactly the same. I'm just saying they both can be used as trump cards and power boost and whatnot.
There's more to these two techniques, but we want to hear your guys' opinions. Have a good day.